Hey there. So in previous video we had a brief introduction on the computer, what computer is actually, and what are its uses and characteristics. So in this very lecture we are going to focus on the evolution of computers, how computers evolve over a period of time. So by saying that the necessity is the mother of invention, and this saying holds true for computers also. Researchers invented computers because of man's search for fast and accurate calculating devices. Alright, so we'll specifically talk about generations of computers. Many scientists like Blaise Pascal, Leibniz, Hollerith, there was a Charles Babbage, and there was von Neumann. Many more scientists come up with new ideas, and they try to expand the capability of the computers over a period of time. That's why these computers are being divided into generations. So till now there are totally 5 computer generations known until today. Alright, so 5 generations. If we talk about generation 1, it approximately started in 1942 to that of 1955. Second generation computer probably started in 1955 to that of the 1964. Third generation computers started in 1964 to 1975. Fourth generation computers started in 1975 to 1989, and fifth generation computers we can say from 1989 to till present. So are we in 1900, are we in generation 5, or we are in generation 4? We will make it clear when we move on in this lecture. Alright, so let's talk about first generation computers. What first generation computers were, and what were their purposes and functionalities. Alright, we have always heard that vacuum tubes were used in first generation computers. What those vacuum tubes were? The vacuum tubes were the only electronic switching device. These vacuum tubes were fragile glass device using filaments as a source of electronics, and could control and amplify electronic signals. Those were vacuum tubes. It was the only high-speed electronic switching device available in those days. This vacuum tubes. So vacuum tubes were used in generation 1. Now, if we talk about the generation 2, transistors were used. Alright, so let me give you a few example of the first generation computers. Though in first generation computer we have Mark 1, we have Unique, we have ENIAC, etc. Alright, those are the examples of the first generation computers, and those were specifically used on machine language. No high level language was used at that time while in the first generation computers. Okay, so second generation computers, transistors were used in these computers, and magnetic core memory used as internal memory, and tapes and secondary storages were introduced in the second generation of the computers. All right, so in this, if we say that the speed was measured in microseconds. Okay, the frequency of a processor was measured in the microseconds. In case of generation 1, it was in milliseconds. In here it was microseconds. Okay, there are few examples like IBM 700 and IBM 1401 etc. All right, those are the few examples of generation second computers. And assembly language like Fortran, COBOL etc. were used. Those were the assembly language, not the high level language, not the machine level language. Those were the intermediate language, like we call them as assembly language. Okay, now generation third computers were little bit more advanced than that of the previous two generations. In these generation third, ICs were used. What are those ICs? Those are called integrated circuits. Integrated circuits were used in generation third, and those integrated circuits were actually made by Claire Kilby and Robert Noyce. Okay, and when they invented this ICs, what ICs basically are, these are the circuits consisting of several electronic components like transistors are there, resistors are there, and capacitors grown on a single chip of silicon, eliminating wired interconnections between components. Okay, that means it is going to make it a little bit more compact as compared to the previous two generations. In here the speed was measured in nanoseconds. Okay, more powerful than these two. And if we have some examples, like in here it was IBM 360 probably, and yeah, ICL 1901, yes, if I'm not wrong, etc. Those are the few examples. And language like Snowball basics were used in here. Snowball basics etc. These languages are used in case of generation third computers. Now we have fourth generation computers, and in these fourth generation computers the more advanced technology was used, which is called VLSI or microprocessor, very large scale integration. Okay, very large scale integration. Okay, VLSI technology was used, in which many ICs uh, were actually combined to make them fit on a single board, which we call as a very large scale integration. And these very large scale integration in this particular generation, use of magnetic and optical storage were more prominent, and currently which we are actually using also. So these were the most prominent. If we talk about speed was measured in picoseconds, much far greater than that these two initial language generations. Okay, few examples are like IBM PCs, like Pentium. Those those were from the Intel. uh, Apple, which we call it Macintosh, etc. Those are the very examples of generation 4 computers, and from here we can guess that we are still residing in generation 4. But but moreover, we are presently in generation 5 also, because generation 5 is particularly based on artificial intelligence, and we are much in this very period right now. So in this, the language like Oracle, EDA, etc. were used in case of generation 4. And now if we say about the 5th generation computers, the trend of further minimization and miniaturization of electronic components, dramatic increase in power of microprocessor chips, and increase in capacity of main memory and hard disk continued during the 5th generation. Okay, the VLSI technology which was used in the case of the 4th generation became ULSI. What does ULSI mean? ULSI means ultra large. Okay, ultra large scale integration. All right, so it was basically the ultra large scale integration technology which was used in the 5th generation, resulting in production of microprocessor chips having millions of electronic components on it. In case of generation 5th, recently processor manufacturers started building multi-core processor chips instead of increasing powerful, that is the most faster single core processor chip. They are making multi-core processors instead of single core processor chips. The multi-core processor improves overall performance by handling more work in a parallel, that means simultaneously. We call it a multitasking. So multitasking is basically in generation 5. So in this technology which was used like ULSI, and right now we called it as biochips. If you have heard it before, biochip technology is also used for the AI. Okay, and it has a lot very high speed than these all. And presently we have robotics, artificial intelligence, and all those are used in the generation 5 computer. So this was the generations of computers, a little introduction on the generation of the computers. And in the coming videos we are going to see the basic computer organization, as I have already told you. So till then, take care of your good self, and keep following, and keep watching my videos, and keep supporting my future videos, and I hope you will do so. Thank you very much.